Right, I think we're recording. So this is part 2. I don't know when I'm going to upload this, whether it'll be the next day or the same night or whatever. I'll see what I can do. But yeah, so we last left it. We were talking about favourite gadget, asked by Paul Cage. The next one, hottest Bond girl. Well, this is the hottest Bond girl, so we're not saying like the best, most like realistic character, the best actress, just the fittest one.
Honestly, would not like to say on that. I mean, God damn it, I can't think of one that I've really hated except for. I mean, even then, not even like Halle Berry, and that was more just because I don't like Halle Berry.
Yeah. Oh, you're definitely going to get called racist for that.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's more the the kind of like period where she was basically like female Will Smith, like fucking everywhere. Like, yep, we're gonna spin her off into her own show. It's like, oh, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I say, even like the closest I could say to a Bond girl I dislike, and even then I won't say, oh, I disliked her, or I didn't think she was attractive or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just a personal dislike of the actress.
Yeah. Well, I would say in terms of the hottest, I always thought Carrie Lowell in License to Kill, Pam Bouvier, that was the name of the character. I thought she was really fit. Not just her face was fit or her shape or anything, but she had a bit of a presence about her as well that made up for that, so she wasn't just a bimbo kind of thing. Because there have been different types of Bond girls over the years, and it wasn't. We used to have the bimbos, then we had the strong, independent women. We've kind of gone backwards and forwards over the years. You've had like Denise Richards was. I mean, yeah, she was supposed to be like this is like physicist, kind of like nuclear physicist, but she
was clearly a nuclear physicist. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
and let's not forget such brilliant lines as Topher only comes once a year.
Yeah.
Christmas only comes once a year. Damn it, I made a mistake there. Damn.
But yeah, so obviously I would say Diana Rigg just in general was really pretty as well. And so obviously she was on Her Majesty's Secret Service. If I was to say the prettiest, I would say Diana Rigg, to be fair. So if you're saying hottest Bond girl, I would definitely say her. I just thought she really had something about her.
I'm just going to step back from that because I'll be like, oh yeah, that one was really like awesome. Wait, actually, no, also Thingy from Such and Such was also awesome. And actually, now I think about it, there was, I could keep going.
Yeah. You would have loved it if Jennifer Connelly was a Bond girl because you're a member of the Jennifer Connelly Masturbatory fan club. So,
JB, I think FB was trying to sign me up to the Billy Connolly one. Like, no, different person.
That was the Billy Connolly masturbation group. That was a different. So yeah, moving on. Anyway, if that's okay with you. First Bond film you saw in the cinema. Talk about how it felt. Well, we kind of covered that, didn't we? GoldenEye for me.
I like to say, I honestly can't remember.
Yeah, I went to see that with.
I suspect it might be not GoldenEye, but the one after it.
Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yeah, I suspect it might have been that one, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's a slim chance I might have seen GoldenEye at the Plaza, but I'm not even sure that would count. Yeah, I like to say, I can't remember enough. It could have just as easily been we got it out from like 3D shit.
Yeah, I went to see GoldenEye at Skipton Plaza back in like '95 when it came out, because I went with the Buff. I think it was him that kind of talked me into it, because up to that point I wasn't like a big James Bond fan. It wasn't something that I grew up with. It wasn't until I was about 14 that I really started to become a fan of these films. And it was a resurgence for the franchise in general because it'd been gone for a few years. And yeah, I think it was Buff that kind of talked to me and got me interested in going to see it. And that was the film, and I really enjoyed it from that point on. So yeah, that was good. Actor most like the books or any of the books that they haven't yet made into films. Well, I would say Daniel Craig, really. I know Timothy Dalton tried, but I think Daniel Craig had a bit more.
It's funny you say that, because I would actually have said pretty much the same too, like Daniel Craig or Timothy Dalton.
Yeah. I mean,
a lot of the other ones were really good. Maybe some of the early Connery stuff, but like I say, there's certainly those two.
Yeah, Connery's got an advantage in that his were the closest era to when the books were written, so they've got that vibe to them. And he had this sort of suave thing because Terence Young, the director of Dr. No and From Russia with Love, and then later on Thunderball, was very much in terms of the sort of the gentleman agent kind of thing, that he, as a director, knew how to direct Sean Connery in that character. So there's that. But then you've got Roger Moore, who, as an actor, didn't sort of like the idea of like killing people in cold blood. And James Bond of the books, the ones that I read anyway, the early ones, James Bond didn't like killing people. So in some ways, Roger Moore kind of had that about him. But these are all individual little things. But I think in general, I think Daniel Craig had the opportunity, and the way it was written for him, that was more like the books, especially Casino Royale, because that book is very close. Obviously, it's more updated for a modern era, but having read the book about 3 times, the parallels between the book and the film are very well done. Like, some scenes are like very accurate. Just little differences, like the bit where he's in the restaurant and he gets like a message, like written message in the book. In the film, he gets a text message and he runs out, sees Vesper being bundled into the back of a car, and she screams and he chases after the car. All that stuff was like pretty much as it was. The way I pictured it when I read the book, and then seeing the film and see that scene and other stuff like that play out the way it does, it was like really satisfying, because you have expectations. And occasionally you get a moment like that where it's like, this is exactly as I pictured it, and now we're getting to see it on film, and it's done really well. So little things like that, I think, little moments as a fan that you can appreciate more than just if you were going into it and just watching a cool film. But yeah, so he's also said, you'll like this next one, Core. Video game memories if you played them. We've got a few.
Yeah. Well, for starters, GoldenEye on the fucking N64 could go fuck itself. I've never played it, so I don't want to fucking hear about it.
Yeah. I played Tomorrow Never Dies and The World Is Not Enough on the PlayStation 1. They were all right enough. I was able to finish them. They took liberties with the storyline, like Paris Carver in Tomorrow Never Dies. She survives in the game, but whatever. They were quite good. I'm not big into computer games, but Nightfire, remember that one?
Yeah, I was going to say, those are where they kind of hit the stride and having their own, like, story and stuff. And I can remember playing them and really enjoying them, rather than just like, oh, this is a tie into the game. It's like, no, these were pretty good, like, on their own, like, merits.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. I played Nightfire, and I had it on the PC, and it was the PC wasn't really capable of running a computer game, and it just kept crashing and like freezing up, and then you're dead. And I think I was playing so badly, I was dying. And the woman says something like, "Is there anything I can do for you, Mr. Bond?" Hang on, yeah. She says, "Is there anything I can do for you, Mr. Bond?" And what was my reply to that?
Give me some fucking armor.
Yeah, so I wouldn't have made a good Bond, basically. Yeah, I don't really have much more memories. I remember 007 Racing being particularly crap.
Didn't you have like a 007 game on like the Game Boy? I seem to remember seeing it floating around your room.
I think I did, yeah. I can't remember if I've still got it. I might have.
It's not stuck in your mind.
Yeah, I don't remember it being very good. But yeah, 007 Racing was pretty bad, because I like racing games, and this wasn't. It was a mission game, but you just happened to be in a car. So that kind of sucked. But yeah, so that's video game memories. Timothy Dalton's resurgence in popularity, or how he was not liked and is now looked upon as the early gritty Bond like Craig. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about there being a resurgence. I know there's been some interesting stuff. Somebody wrote a book. I haven't read it, but I know of it, called something like the third unmade Timothy Dalton film or something. And there was a lot of talk about the stuff that was going to would have happened if they'd have done that third film, had there not been lawsuits and stuff with the filmmakers and so on. But yeah, I mean, Timothy Dalton, I think, is overall well liked. He didn't have much chance to shine because he did 2 films and one of those is License to Kill, and that's not a traditional Bond film. It kind of went off into the 80s action movie genre, a little bit more heavy than a lot of people would have liked. But I love that film, and that would be in my top 5 maybe of Bond films. But I understand why people don't, because it doesn't feel like a typical Bond film. But it was a product of its time, and I like that time in movies. You know, it had a Michael Kamen movie score. He did like Die Hard and Lethal Weapon and Highlander and loads of other movie scores, action, like typical action movie scores. Roadhouse. So License to Kill kind of feels like it kind of stepped out of being part of James Bond and kind of added an entry into the 80s action movie genre as well, in a really great way. You know, it was like a great marriage of the two, I thought, being a fan of both. So,
and
but
plus there's the famous like scene with what looks like a burning hand coming out of the explosion.
Yeah, that's mental, isn't it? Yeah. If nobody knows what we're talking about, yeah, it was. I mean, I'm sure most people will. It's a famous story. But when they were filming License to Kill, there was a bit where there's a road that was supposed to be haunted, and they were blowing up a lot of like vehicles and stuff, and they were taking photographs of it as well. And there's a bit where there's like a very clearly defined hand and bit of an arm, like kind of looks like that kind of shape, like coming out of the fire, and it's a flame hand. It's just
yeah. Just to be clear, it's almost like the fire's made a hand. It's not like, you know, there's like, oh my god, there was a person in that explosion.
Yeah, and it's like a giant fireball in the shape of a very anatomically correct hand, and including a wrist. You know, it's freaky that. But yeah, that was those. So what else have we got? Try to blitz through this. The best item of Bond-related merchandise, memorabilia that you own or wish that you owned. Yeah, that I own. Well, my record collection, I'm going to get into that in a future video. The James Bond records. It's not one item, but I've got all of the soundtracks that you can actually own, which is all of them up to and not including GoldenEye. So GoldenEye is the first soundtrack that I just don't know if it even exists on record, and if it does, it's not easily or cheap to get hold of. And then the Daniel Craig ones, I think you can get all of them except for Quantum of Solace. And then there's been some new stuff like compilations as well, which I'll get into in a different video. That would be my favourite memory, but you're not a Bond collector, so a bit irrelevant to you, would you say?
Yeah, I can't think of anything that I've got that I'm like, oh yeah, this was awesome. It's like, there's a lot of cool shit out there. Nothing that really comes to mind, though.
Yeah. I do like my James Bond International Fan Club Gold card that I've still got. I do highly, value that. The James Bond Lego Aston Martin with the gadgets, the big one that they brought out a few years ago. I did a video on the channel. That's very nice as well. You can still get that as well. It's still on the shelves. There's a new version as well. Lego brought out a smaller version that's about 20 quid, and you get a little James Bond figure as well. I was tempted, but it's just a lesser version of the one that I already have, so it's a bit of a waste if I was to buy that.
I mean, you have got rid of quite a few Bond things over the years because you didn't have room for them, so that makes sense.
Yeah, moving house as well. That sucks because I used to have a lot of like Bond stuff as well, like a lot of the figures and stuff, like the sideshow ones. I had all of them. I had some of the official Action Man James Bonds as well, and I've had to sell stuff over the years just to either make space or if I was moving or whatever. But yeah, no, the one that I would love to own, and it's very expensive. That would be the Golden Gun. You can get like 3D printed ones, but you can get like proper like metal Scaramanga Golden Gun that comes apart with all the different pieces. That would be really nice to own that. Yeah, I would at some point. I'm thinking of getting this. The Royal Dalton, not Timothy Dalton. It's Dol Doulton. It's a make. They do like marble stuff. The bulldog that was from Skyfall, you know, the one that Judi Dench has, and it blows up in the MI6 headquarters. Yeah. And then Bond inherits it, and it's all like broken and put back together again. because you can get that, and it's like it looks like it's been broken and put back together again, like in the film. And they've re-released it a few times for every subsequent Daniel Craig film. So there was a Spectre one, and there was a No Time to Die one. It's about 60 odd quid, or weighing up getting one of them. It'd be quite nice. He's like draped in the Union Jack. Pretty cool. So yeah, that'd be nice to own that as memorabilia. What else is? He's asked, how about your favourite bit part characters, either recurring or not? Jaws, I suppose. Yeah, he was a recurring character. It was a bit part. It was
I mean, again, with that, it's like, do we include like Q and Moneypenny? Because if we do, they have to win, you know?
Yeah, I'm going to say they'd have an unfair advantage, wouldn't they? It's a good point. If it was like a bit part, say like limited to 1 or 2 films, and yeah, difficult one, really. What about any thoughts from yourself, right quick?
I mean, we've had a pretty decent Felix Leiter in the recent films who has shown up in more than one.
Yeah.
Yeah, beyond that, a lot of them tended to be just like, unless it was like Moneypenny or Q, they don't tend to stick around that long, really.
Yeah, that's it.
But it was kind of interesting. I think it was you know, the one with like Spearman, like, you know, Death to the West.
Yeah, Death to Spies.
Yeah, Death to Spies, that's the one. You know, like his like arch enemy kind of in that. You know, he was kind of
Whitaker.
It's like the one time I'm glad that 007 is a good shot.
Yeah, that he was in.
Yeah, like the Russian guy, not the villain. The
Pushkin. He was
Pushkin,
in. Yeah, he was pretty good. Yeah, he was in. What do you call it? Raiders of the Lost Ark, wasn't he, as well? And he was in Sliders. Remember that?
Yes.
I think it was John Rhys Davies, I think it was called, or something like that. That was his name.
Yeah, that's the actor.
And he looked like Pavarotti. But yeah, well, we're running out of questions anyway. I think the last one was from Paul Cage. Because those last questions were from Stu Blencorn, a lot of those last ones. What about your favourite Bond parody? Example, Austin Powers.
Oh, fuck no.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of parodies. The only one I would say, I mean, I like some, I mean, it's not really a parody of the Alan Partridge one where he was talking about, stop getting Bond wrong, Lynn. There's a good one. But I would say the best one, and if you have not seen this, it'll be on YouTube, I'm sure, check it out. It was 10 years before he actually played Bond, Roger Moore, in 1963. So he started in 73 with Live and Let Die. But in 1963, when the movie franchise was only a year old at this point, Roger Moore did a thing on a TV show, which was a parody, and he was James Bond. That was like mental. And it's like an extra feature on some of the Blu-rays and DVDs and stuff. But it'll be on YouTube. It's like a comedy parody. And he's like, oh, yes, I'm Bond, James Bond, kind of thing.
So also just got a small legal announcement. Roger Moore is not a towel thief.
Yeah. Another Alan Partridge reference.
So yeah, I've got a lawyer. Oh, so what? It's the same one Roger Moore has. Ah, shit.
Yeah. Yeah, all the Alan Partridge James Bond references, I think, are better than any like actual parody that we've seen. I've not seen Austin Powers, but
It never interested me in the slightest.
Nah. Obviously, like Casino Royale in 1967 was a parody, but I begrudge that because that's the reason why we didn't. Well, not that movie. I mean, if they didn't do it, somebody else would have done it or held the rights hostage. But it worked out eventually. We got a good Casino Royale movie in 2006. It's not a bad film in Casino Royale, the 1967 version. It's just I like the James Bond films. That's not one of them. So yeah, well, we'll leave it there because we're getting up to like 20 minutes on this video. So this was part 2 anyway. I'll do another video. Anything last to say? Because my next video is going to be me talking about the records and stuff.
Nothing that comes to mind. No.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll leave it there. Hopefully, this hasn't been too boring. But yeah, I think we can we can say it's been a good franchise so far. We hope they don't mess it up going forward or do anything with it and repurpose it for any agenda that, whether we agree with that or not, just stick to the films, or TV shows if that's what they do, whatever. Yeah, right. Well, should we leave it there?
Yes.
Right, nice one. Right, well, Bronics Reviews, you can like the video, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, we'll see you next time.